If some of these theories come true, I won't know what to do with myself. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another Stranger Things video, a very fun one in my mind, as I have compiled some of the most popular fan theories for Stranger Things Season 5, and I'm putting them all in a tier list based on how likely they are to actually happen, in my opinion. Some of these I've talked about in past videos, they've been hot topics since Season 4 ended, or they're ones that I personally just made up and put in this video, but you've probably heard of all of them. I got around 15 or so, have some unique tiers I'm going to go through. Before I get into it though, hit that like button, subscribe into that notification bell, and of course, comment down below your thoughts on all these predictions and what tiers you would place them in. Without further ado, let's dive into these tiers. You guys know the drill. So the tiers I have are 100% happening, very likely, possible, never say never, and no shot. No shot means I don't think this theory is going to come true at all. 100% means it's happening. So I got 15 or so. Like I said, they're randomized. I have pictures here. I'll explain what the theory is when I get to said picture. But first up, we've got this picture of Will's painting from Season 4. The theory here is that this was foreshadowing that in Season 5, we will see a three-headed dragon come out of the Upside Down, and that will be one of the main new creatures from the Upside Down that the gang has to fight. Now, I don't think this is going to happen, but I'm not saying there's no shot, because the Duffer Brothers pay very close attention to detail. It would be fitting foreshadowing. They've kind of done that in the past with D&D pieces while a campaign's ongoing. I'm going to say never. I don't feel too comfortable or confident, rather, in this happening, but you can never say never. How cool would it be if we got to see that painting come to life in a sense? I'd be here for it. The budget on that thing alone, that dragon, would be insane. And imagine if they actually brought in a Thessal Hydra instead, like the 8-headed monster with the big open mouth. That would be madness too. So whatever they end up doing, I'm sure we're going to get some sort of new creature from the Upside Down. We're not just going to have Vecna, Demodogs, Demobats, Demogorgons, and the Mind Flayer. We're going to have more, and this could be a route they go. So never say never, but I don't know if they're going to go that route. Just think of the budget alone. I'm thinking of it from like a business perspective. That would be madness. Moving on to the next one, we've got Great Scott, Marty, run for it, Marty. Back to the Future, but it's not Back to the Future. It is signifying time travel in Stranger Things. Will there be time travel in Season 5? I'm going to put this in the possible tier, because as we know, not there, right there we go. As we know, in Season 4, we found out that the Upside Down is frozen in time on November 6, 1983. This is made known when Nancy finds her diary, and the last entry was on that date. So time is not advanced. That means everything in the Upside Down is frozen in time on November 6, 1983. So could that somehow be setting up time travel of sorts? Maybe Stranger Things version of time travel, because I don't think we're going to see our characters in the fall of 1987 create some device a la the DeLorean from Back to the Future and then travel back to 1983. I think that would be insane and just too hard to believe, even though this show already is very clearly fiction. I mean, could you imagine if they made some sort of time travel watches like it's Avengers Endgame and they all just boop, tap it and they go through a portal back to 1983? I think that would be ridiculous. The way I think they would go about time travel, like Stranger Things version of time travel, would involve almost like time slipping through the Upside Down in a sense. If you view it, straight up, they kind of have already time travel. If you go to the Upside Down, you're back in time. So could they explore that idea more, go more in depth with it? It's possible for sure. I don't know if they want to go full on conventional time travel, because that might be, crossing the line for a lot of people. Even for me, if they create some machine, that's like, what are we doing here, We could have used this in seasons past, and also the Upside Down exists, so why not use that as sort of the mode of transportation to traverse the timeline? I don't know. I feel like it's possible, but flip a coin, really. I mean, we'll see if the Duffers want to go that crazy with it or not. Next, we've got maybe the most popular fan theory that's been talked about the most since Season 4 came to an end way back in July of 2022. That is the theory that Eddie will return as Kaz the Bloody-Handed, sort of the right-hand man of Vecna. From what I understand, a lot of people have theorized that. I'm going to say this is possible. You can't write it off. I'm going to put this actually at the top of possible. The reason being is, number one, Joseph Quinn has become this megastar, and the Duffers had no idea when they created Stranger Things 4, especially this character, that he would become such a star with the fans. Like, this is one of the fan favorites from season 4. He died, a hero's death. He didn't run. It ripped all of our hearts out, but I feel like he was taken from us too soon. And had the Duffers known in advance that this character was going to become as big as he did, they probably wouldn't have killed him off, in my opinion. His death wasn't the most necessary, and so I feel like they could bring him back. We also, if we want to get real technical with it, never fully saw his body leave the Upside Down, so he still could be down there, allowing for Vecna to potentially resurrect him as this Kaz the Bloody-Handed figure. But if you want to get real theory deep with it, if we look at the Season 5 episode titles, the 6th episode is entitled Escape from Camazotz. I've talked about this in past videos, but for those who don't know, Camazotz involves like this Mayan death bat god of sorts. I haven't done my research on it in a while, but when I last did, it was like this big bat figure, and we know that Eddie was taken out by Demobats in the Upside Down, so could that be hinting at a potential return for his character as Kaz in the 6th episode of Season 5? Anything is possible, that's why I put it in that tier. I'm not shutting down that possibility, but as time has passed, I've kind of lost the full faith that I once had in Eddie returning as Kaz. Now, if we're going the route of, hey, Eddie will appear in some way, shape, or form, I'd say 100%, because I think we're going to see him in some sort of flashback or like vision or dream, but in terms of him being alive as Kaz, that's where I'm a little more 50-50 on it. Moving on, though, we've got a photo of Karen Wheeler. The reason I chose this photo is because the theory is Karen Wheeler is a Creel, more specifically Alice Creel, the sister of Henry. Now, I think this has already been disproven, and I always thought this was a very outlandish theory, but it all stemmed from when Karen Wheeler got her own character poster for the Season 4 marketing, and we all took it and ran with it, because that's what we do. We love to over-theorize, and that's honestly, it's fun, all right? It is. I'm saying no shot. There's no way this is happening. I don't think it would add up or make sense. It would also be too big of a reveal to happen this late in the game, and it would just change fundamentally the Wheeler family dynamic and almost rock the show to its core, not in a good way, in my opinion. So I'm saying no shot Karen Wheeler is revealed to be a Creel. I know that's been a fun theory that's floated around for a while now, but I'm throwing that one out the window. Be gone! Be gone! Next, we have Max, a picture of Max being Vecna'd. By the way, I was thinking about that. I love how we as a fandom just made the term Vecna'd up. And it's one of my favorite things in movies and shows when, like, the fandom just creates a term that, like, the writers never could have envisioned. Vecna'd. It's like Vecna's name, apostrophe D. It's just great. You know, gotta love it. Anyway, Max getting Vecna'd. The reason I chose this picture is because this theory is that Vecna is using Max's body as a vessel, and I'm gonna say this is 100% happening. I'm putting it up there right now. My girlfriend is the first person that I'm aware of, way back when, personally, to pitch this theory. And I remember we were talking and she pitched it to me and I'm like, that's fantastic. Basically, Vecna's going to be using Max's body. Everyone else won't know that. And so Max could wake up from the coma, but it's actually Vecna and he's playing the long game, just using her physical body to, I guess, gain information or, you know, trick our main characters in a way. I could see it happening. It's 100% happening, in my opinion, because they wouldn't have had Max survive if not for nothing. She's going to play some sort of pivotal role in Season 5, and her being possessed by Vecna could very well be the case. So 100% happening, in my opinion. You wouldn't leave Max around. If they were going to kill Max, they would have killed Max. They got cold feet. They brought her back. Now she has a deep-rooted connection to Vecna. They got to do something with that, and what better way than to have Vecna using her body. Maybe they switched, like imagine Max is in Vecna's mind and Vecna's in Max's mind. That would be pretty trippy. Next, we've got the dreaded theory. Callie will return and help defeat Vecna. I don't want this to happen. I know there have been, you know, tons of reports that, oh, maybe it will happen. That's with like every theory though, so you got to take everything with a grain of salt. I will say it's possible. Unfortunately, I'm putting it at the top of possible because it's one of the loose ends in Stranger Things. And if anyone wants to redeem the Lost Sister episode, it's probably the Duffers. It's the one stain on the show. If you ask everyone who's watched Stranger Things, it is the consensus worst episode. It's not even up for debate. It's the worst episode of the show. That's fact. It's almost like objectively the worst episode of the show. It's just the outlier. It felt so out of place, didn't work for me. And the character of Callie has been absent since that episode, season 2, ep 7. And so if the Duffers wanted to bring her back, redeem that episode in a sense, it could be, you know, well done. And I would have to, you know, round of applause the Duffers, you did it. You pulled off the impossible feat. But at the same time, I don't want them to run the risk of bringing this character back and her kind of coming in like a Captain Marvel and Endgame situation where Captain Marvel was in Endgame at the beginning, then disappeared, and then like comes into the final battle and helps to sort of save the day. I wouldn't want that with Callie. She hasn't been around for seasons, and so if Eleven is exerting all of her power against Vecna, and then like right when all hope seems lost, Callie just enters out of nowhere, it would feel unearned and a bit cheap, if I'm being honest. So that I don't really want to happen. There's a lot of routes they could go with the Callie return. I'm leaning just leave her out of the picture, you know? It's been long enough, just let it be, let it ride. But there is a chance definitely she could return. If she's coming back though, just own it, embrace it from the jump. I don't want it to be a situation where she comes out of left field. Like, let us know early on, damn near make her a character who appears in like multiple episodes, just so we the audience can warm back up to it, and so that if she does have to play a hand in taking down Vecna in some sort of epic final showdown, we're warmed up to it at least, and so it doesn't feel just cheap, you know what I'm saying? That's where I'm at with that at least. Next up, we've got Stancy will be Endgame, meaning Steve and Nancy will end up together at the end of the show. I am so on the fence about this because I'm Team Stancy over Team Jancy. I know that's a very hot take, but I just have a feeling that in season 4, they wouldn't have set that up for nothing. Right now, as it stands at the end of season 4, Jonathan is with Nancy, so it would take something drastic for her to dump him and go back to Steve. But at the same time, that scene in the RV is the one that stands out to me, where Steve is talking with Nancy. He's like talking about how he wants to have all these kids, you know, these little nuggets running around. And I feel like they gotta do something with that. They also were definitely giving each other looks in the Upside Down. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. I think Steve and Nancy, possible. I'll put it right here in the possible tier, because you gotta admit, they were setting them up to have some sort of romantic spark in season 5. They wouldn't have done that for nothing. Next, we've got a picture of Eleven and Vecna, because my theory here is Eleven will die and take Vecna down with her. I'm gonna say this is very likely to happen. I'm gonna put it right here. I don't think it's 100% set in stone, but of all the potential deaths, I think this one makes the most sense. I've said this line I'm about to say 100 times, so if you've been watching my videos for a while, this isn't new, but if you're new, it'll be your first time hearing it maybe. When Eleven arrived in the Stranger Things show, the world turned upside down. For things to go right side up, she might have to go with it. I think she could end up sacrificing herself, taking down Vecna, eradicating the upside down as we know it. Be very tragic, almost like the end of season 1 when she dies, disappears into the upside down, that is. It was devastating, right? I imagine that times 1,000 because of all the development of her character and her relationship with Mike and everyone else. Like, it would hurt like hell, especially seeing Hopper lose another daughter. Like, it would be cruel almost, but it would maybe make the most sense. Her and Vecna have, you know, been attached since the beginning of this, you know, timeline, essentially. I feel like it's got to go down with both of them biting the dust. I think it's very likely, I'm not going to put that in the 100% tier, but it's very likely this could be the way that the Upside Down goes away forever. Next, we've got a picture of Steve in the Upside Down. The theory here is that Steve will sacrifice himself for Nancy, for Jonathan, for anyone. It's basically just Steve will die in an act of sacrifice. They've set this up time and time again. Steve's always putting himself in front of others, getting in harm's way, getting his ass beat. If you look at season 4, he's the first one to go through Watergate. And, you know, the end of the dive, like, he's getting tied up by Demobats and bit. Like, it looks like he's going to bite the dust. But he obviously lives. They faked this out. Was that teasing? Hey, they're actually going to do it. He's going to sacrifice himself in this new season. If we go back to that audio that was out there a long time ago, almost a year ago now, which is crazy how time flies. A lot of people were speculating there was an audio from the set that said, Steve, you need to run. I honestly just heard you need to run, and you could put in like 30 different names here. But regardless, I believe when it comes to this, I'm going to say it's possible. It's not, you know, you can't say no shot. It's not 100% happening, but it's very possible. I'm putting it at the top of possible, because if Steve dies, it would crush me more than any other death in the show, arguably. But you got to think, like, just logically here, he's constantly putting himself in harm's way to protect those around him. So maybe that's going to catch up with him here. It scares me. I'm not going to put it, you know what? I don't know. I'll leave it there. I almost went very likely. I'll leave it there. Next, we've got a photo of Vecna. This theory, the darkest of the bunch, Vecna wins. Could you imagine if they went the Infinity War route, where Thanos snaps away half of humanity and rests at peace? But instead, with Stranger Things, Vecna eradicates everyone, ruling whatever, the Upside Down takes over the Hawkins, everything, and he's just content. That would be the darkest way to go. It'd be very unsatisfying as well. I'm saying no shot for this one. I'll put it right here because I think it has the least likelihood of happening out of maybe all of these theories I've cooked up. Next, I've got a photo of Mike Wheeler, Will Byers, or as some of the fandom knows them as, Byler. This theory is that they will end up together. Byler will come true. Byler will be endgame. I'm honestly gonna say never. I don't think that it's gonna happen. I'll put it right here. But I'm saying never say never because you really never know. I'm not saying like 100% no to it. There's like a slim chance, like a 10% chance this could happen, because if you look at it based on the facts, in season 4, Will has already had a scene where he indirectly confessed his feelings to Mike in a way, right? Like Jonathan was aware of that. Mike, who's to say if he actually picked up on it fully or not, but we could get a scene in season 5 where Will fully confronts, Mike and's like, hey, like I have romantic feelings for you, whatever it may be. And that could result in them ending up together. There's a slim chance because I think Mike's heart lies somewhere else, as we'll talk about in a second. I've always gotten that Will feels romantic feelings for Mike. Mike does not reciprocate. Mike, fully platonic with the friendship. Will maybe wanted to go to the next level with it. So I think never say never, because one half of that potential ship, right, has romantic feelings, but Mike does not reciprocate because Mike's heart lies with Eleven. The next theory is that Eleven will break up. I know that's not what you want to hear, but I think Mike and Eleven are the couple, right? One of the original couples of Stranger Things. Mike's always been fond of Eleven. When she went missing, like every day he called and tried to reach out to her. And they've just been one of the heart of the show since the beginning in terms of relationships. And so I think to tear that apart, it would be devastating. But could they break up? That's the theory here. Will and Eleven break up? It's honestly, I'm going to put this one in never say never. I feel like they are going to end up together. But not every high school relationship or middle school relationship that starts at a younger age lasts forever. I'm going to say never. I'll put it at the top because, it's definitely possible that those two could end up breaking up and going their separate ways for a bit, maybe reconvening later or reconciling the relationship, getting back together. But I honestly just don't see them like 100% breaking up or like no shot. It's on the table, so never say never, but they have been that couple. They've had their bumps for sure, but the scene in season 4 when Mike's telling Eleven, like, I love you, that can't just be for nothing, right? We'll see. Next, we've got a picture of Will touching his neck, as he loves to do. This is a theory that Will gain powers in season 5. When it comes to this specific theory, I'm on the fence about it because Will getting powers, on the one hand, it would be sick, right? To see another one of our characters have powers. And it would make sense in a way because he was taken to the Upside Down and it kickstarted this whole show back in season 1, Ep 1, right? November 6, 1983. So it could be that's the case. But at the same time, why wait until now to have him have powers? And also, would it be like cheap? Would it feel earned? I don't know. I think that the only way this would work for me is if throughout flashbacks in season 5, they establish, he's had powers all along maybe, and he's just now discovering that because his memory was sort of wiped from his time in the Upside Down. And so we, the audience, are learning through flashbacks that he actually has powers. And like when we get this big moment, this big reveal, the character himself also remembers. That would be a cool way to tell the story, I feel, and reveal that information to the audience. But would it feel cheap if he just like got powers at the end and fought alongside Eleven? I don't know. I haven't gathered it yet. Like if he's teaming up with Callie and Eleven and there's like 3 of them fighting Vecna, could it feel a bit too superhero, too comic booky? Maybe. I've always been more of a fan of when our characters have to devise a plan where they're clearly in an underdog role, but they have to almost use their wits to outsmart the villain. That's always been something I've rooted for more as opposed to just out physicaling them. I'm going to put this, however, in the possible tier because it's very possible this could happen. It's almost in the very likely tier because they've been hinting at his connection to Vecna all along. Well, it might have to result in him having some sort of powers. We'll see. I'm going to put this in like right about here in the middle of the possible tier. Next, we've got Jancy Endgame, Jonathan and Nancy. Look, as much as I have always been more Stancy than anything, I have a feeling that they're going to ride with this duo, this relationship. They've been through thick and thin. They've been the relationship since season 2, 3 and 4. They've been together through rough patches. I feel like of the two, they're more likely to end up together than Stancy. Even though I am always been more of a Stancy guy, I'm going to put this in very likely because I feel like they'll end up together at the end of the show, or Nancy will just not end up with Jonathan or Steve. So we'll see, but of the two, I say that's very likely. to happen. And the last theory here is the worst. If this happens, the show would be ruined. And you guys know what this is. It's the entire show was a D&D campaign. Cue the heart music, and then everyone just like wakes up and it's like, oh, that was fun. And they just go their separate ways at the end of the episode. Like, imagine we pick back up right where we were at the beginning of season 1, ep 1 with the kids playing D&D, and we just continue from there. And that's the end of the show. It'd be ridiculous. It would ruin everything. And it's not going to happen. It's going at the back of no shot because it's just not possible. I can't conceive of this happening.
You can't conceive of what I'm capable of.
No shot. And if it does happen, the show is ruined. I think we can all agree on that, right? But yeah, that does it for my tier list ranking of Stranger Things Season 5 theories based on how likely they are to happen or to come true. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this tier list. What tiers would you place these theories in? And if you want to make your own tier list based on this, I actually have it linked in the description of this video, and it should be in the pinned comment as well, so you can make your own tier list and share it with me, and I'll repost it on Instagram, my Instagram story. Tag me and I'll see it. So that was fun. I want to do more videos like this as we approach season 5. We're kind of in a dead zone for news, but I just adore talking about Stranger Things so much that these videos are so much fun for me, and I know you guys enjoy them as well. So I want to keep doing them. This was a fun one. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Be on the lookout for more videos coming very soon. And until next time, I'll see you on the other side of the Upside Down.